Okay, welcome back. Right, today's little fun and games with that. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for the amazing comments. I appreciate that. I was in no way expecting that weight to be as little as that. That is incredible. What a nice lightweight piece. Now, there's going to be more weight going on it. There's going to be a little thin skin of filler going over it just to smooth it out. That's inevitable, and there'll be paint. There's also going to be some brackets and so on. So it's going to increase in weight, but not by any means as much as that thing up there, which is just heavy. And at the end, what I'm going to do is weigh that against that, and I'll show you the difference in the two. But I'm not going to put the final weight of the tail on the board of doom until it's kind of finished, because there's no point. I'll just keep adding and subtracting and going back and forwards. I'll wait till it's done. I've taken the weight of that one off of the total, so it's not on there at the minute. At the moment, that the weight recorded is that without a tail on it. So whatever that ends up, that will be the tail going on it, and that will then get weighed, and then it will go on the board, and we'll be able to tell where we are. This bike's going to be underweight no matter what. So there we are. Today is a little task, straightforward, not so much fun as breaking things out of molds and big reveals, I'm afraid, but it is necessary nonetheless. Some great advice from you flying in lately. So now from painters in particular, what they're saying is, if there are any air bubbles in that, and I didn't use a roller, thank you for all the advices on using rollers to squeeze out the bubbles, but did try a roller, but as soon as the resin starts to get hot and starts to get sticky, the roller just kind of lifts it up behind. So as you roll over, it's lifting the resin up behind, just making a right mess. It's just the lack of talent of the operator. It's not the right, wrong, or the different roller. It's just that I'm not in that position to have learned how to do it yet to that standard. So I didn't use a roller, and that meant there are a couple of air bubbles. There's one along the top ridge that I mentioned that's got to come out, and there's a couple around the side, and I'm going to see if I can identify any more. Now, as I said, one of you painters came to me and said it's really, really important you don't get any air bubbles on there. And the reason for that is that as you put a skin of paint over the top, the air bubble underneath, that won't be air sealed, that will be porous to a degree. So if there's an air bubble, when it gets hot in the sunshine, the air inside the bubble expands, and that will push a blister out into the paint, and that just trashes your paint job and is just a nightmare, and I absolutely don't want that. I couldn't possibly afford that, so I'm going to make sure that there are no air bubbles in that before I move forward. So today's task is to grind out the couple of bubbles I do know about. I'm going to wet it down to make sure I can't see any more, because while it's glossy and wet, you can see the bubbles through it, and then grind them out. The idea is to grind them out with a sander, take the top off them so they're a crater, and then fill them with a dab of matting and some resin so they're solid. That's the first task, and then that will be today done. Then after that, at the weekend, I can start working on the struts to support it. So there we go. Wish me luck. Eyes down, full house. Let's get stuck in. Right, okay, so that's got all the air bubbles pierced and skinned. That one, as you can see, that one especially was quite deep. There's probably 2 full layers of fiberglass I had to take off. It was quite deep, but I haven't gone, other than this top ridge here, I haven't gone through it completely and just made a hole. It is still backed by 2 layers of fiberglass, so I need to put 2 more in there, cut that to size, thicken that up, make it nice and solid. And as for the others, they'll just get, what I've done with those is I've done a shell scrape on them, just literally scraped out or scooped off the top 1 layer, because the bubbles on this, where all the little tiny bubbles were just in the last layer of fiberglass. I saw them go in, dab them as much as you like, they just move around. I had the advice already that you can just skin them, and that's all I've done. I haven't actually dug in properly. I've just done a little shell scrape out the surface, and I'll just dab a little bit of resin and a tiny dab of matting just on that, just to thicken it back up to full thickness, and that one will get fully grafted. A proper grafted in piece, cut to size for that, pop it in, and then 1 layer over the top, and then I can leave that whole thing to set. So this stuff is good, proper beef. Anyway, let's get some little bits cut, get some clearing up done, clear away some tools, and then I can start grafting a new piece into that and dabbing the others in.
I was told so many stories, and I kept them in my stomach. Lies, the truth, fake smiles, and blood money. I lost cause at a loss for words, trying to keep my tone down. What I'm saying's absurd, unusual, context unique, buried in the depths of metaphorical speech, a hidden message. Pull the infinite strings, reconnect the ends, and pretend to justify the means. Parallel, we're reading the same page, turn days into literature simple as loose change. It was perfect, or at least that's what I'm told. Courage is dead, spending my life fearing the cold. I was useless, feeling like dead weight, plain as day. Introducing when handshakes. Originality was spread across the board. Intricate self-worth, I'm searching for more. I swear rain doesn't fall on my fields. It takes a drought to avoid all the secrets that I concealed. Hidden within the dust-covered land behind the city. The street lights are dim and the fog is always walking with me. It's nothing new, my eyes adjusted to the scene. Flickering on and off, it's just the daily routine. I grab a hold of time, forcing not to leave. The weeds grow sporadic in my moments when I'm quarantined. Thinking less, move the top to where the fuel rests. Giving all I got to breathe life to the common sense. Moving the top to where the fuel rests. Giving all I got to breathe life to your silhouette. Each one of us has our own destiny. A place where we come from and a place where we're going. Sometimes what we see or touch might be rough or rigid. Like a wax painting a sound, stress to fill the holes.
There's a little bubble developed just at the back here, just a tiny microscopic one. I've just pushed the matting off it and made it into a crater. So that will just fill with a tiny bit of filler. It's not a bubble, and that's the most important thing. Right, so we clear up. And see what it looks like. Right, there we go, drying times again, I'm afraid. These projects, things like this, they're a sequence of processes that you have to do, and they have to have time to dry in between. Sometimes it's just a bit boring, it can't all be cops and robbers, it can't all be revealing fantastic things. If you want to watch a project from start to finish with everything, then sometimes there are intermediate ones and boring ones in between that aren't so exciting, and that, certainly for me and possibly for you, that's not so much fun today, but it's done. That's a nice thing to get done. Those air bubbles were, that one was severe and terminal. That would have been very big problems for the bike in the future for the paint job. Now I've got rid of that. 5 layers of fiberglass gone in there, plus a layer over the top, so that's back to the full thickness of what this ridge is. As I have said in the past, this ridge is not permanent, it is subject to change. I'm going to put the light in the rear, I'm going to take some of this height out of the rear point, just so that it rounds everything off a little bit more with the rest of the rounded look of the bike. So that's not permanent, it's just giving me a straight line at the moment, so that everything's lined up. When that gets taken out, smoothed over, and whatever modifications I make to that, which I haven't decided yet, they will not look exactly like that. But for now, I wanted that front part absolutely perfect, and it now is. So thanks for that guidance. Thanks for that, whoever it was out there that said this, or two of you I think that said about making sure you get rid of the air bubbles, even if you do it retrospectively later, it doesn't matter. It's important to do it, and they're all gone. Absolutely fabulous. The next thing, I'm not going to sand, I can't sand this now, it's all wet and sticky. It will take 48 hours before that's sandable. And in that sense, once it is, I'm not going to take any thickness out of it. I'm not just going to go sanding it all smooth, because that's taking away thickness, which means taking away strength. What I'll do instead is I'll add a thin layer, maybe 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch at the most, of filler all over the whole thing, like you see the custom shop guys do, literally all over with filler, and then sand all that back again. A sort of sacrificial layer of filler, and it will fill all of the low spots. So there'll only be little spots of filler left here and there when I'm done, and then a few more perhaps to get it right. So the next one at the weekend will be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more reveal, get this looking good. I'm going to trim it as well. Some of these little ears, all this stuff down here, that is going to go. I'm going to trim it to where it looks right. After that, once this is in a halfway semi-usable tail, maybe some primer over it to make me feel like it's halfway getting there. Then after that, I'll build some struts underneath. So welding into that really strong front structure, I'll weld some struts under there with some little platforms and threads, captive threads, I may use riv nuts, whatever, just so I can bolt this through so it's bolted down solid in the seat area. There'll be no need to bolt it down the sides. It will be strong enough at the top, and I can trim things and do all sorts of fun stuff with it later on. But at the moment, that's now the bubbles gone. That's another job ticked off the list. Thank you for watching. Take it easy, ride safe, and I'll see you at the weekend for some more fun.
Till it fades, I washed away the shades of color, peel back the winter, bringing light to my summer. I spent the longest time trying to decide on who to be. My destiny manifests, my mind's in the open sea. See, I feel better when I'm alone. Escape my own past, creation of time zones I flipped. See my eyes focus on every trip. Reaching for the sky becomes harder with every hit till it clears. The smoke settles on all my fears. Rain drops and covers the remains of every tear that I flip. See my eyes focus on every trip. Reaching for the sky becomes harder with every hit. Every hit, every hit, every hit.